Alina, you
and then
said
eventually try to be.
femcells exist.
I do believe that they're very rare, but I think there are some girls that just cannot get laid.
Well, so can you explain what a femcell is?
A femcel is a woman who's involuntarily celibate.
Okay. And that's your definition?
Yes.
Okay, because I've heard some people say, because incel, involuntarily celibate, that applies to men. Femcel, it's basically a female involuntarily celibate. I've heard people have different definitions, though, of what a femcel is. They'll describe it as a woman who can't get sex from the particular man or men that she deems attractive.
Right.
Which isn't the same, but...
You're right, it's not the same. But my thing about this is, if you can get laid by men who you are just so disgusted by that you just can't do it, you still can't get laid, because that's,
Yeah, we'll go into that.
You still have to respect yourself a little bit.
Going around the table, I don't know if you guys are even like really familiar with this phenomenon, whether it's on the male side or the female side. Do you think that there are femcells? So these are women who just, they can't get laid.
I'm sure, of course. There has to be a decent amount of women out there. Not decent, I'd say, thousands maybe.
Sure. What about you? Do you think?
Yeah, there's women out there,
Women? Do you guys
Rare,
know?
but
You have friends? Okay. What about you, Ariel?
I'm sure there is.
Okay. Sure, yeah.
I mean, statistically, it seems like impossible that it would be zero. But the number, I'm sure, is very, very low. And even then, it's like, are they using the resources at their disposal to really get it?
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're rare. But
Yeah. I'm going to challenge you, Alina. So I don't think it's actually possible for a woman to be a femcel, to be involuntarily celibate. I think it's just, it's impossible.
What if they have what if they got in like a terrible fire and they got like all these rashes and stuff, and like their vagina is all messed up and... Sure,
yeah. Well, I mean, look, I
like
think here's the interesting thing, though. Here's the interesting thing is there are these women who will post on social media, on TikTok, and they actually garner massive followings, who are very deformed. And I'm not, look,
Men are weird.
I'm empathetic to their, some of them have birth defects, some of them were terrible accidents, some of them were victims of like, what's that called?
Incest? Sorry.
Oh my fucking brain.
I don't, sorry.
Toaster brain.
Are you talking about when you throw the acid?
Yeah, the acid attacks and this sort of thing. But some of these women who are very deformed, and I'm not saying that to mean just as a matter of fact, they have substantial followings on social media, and they get quite a bit of romantic and sexual attention from men. So even granting this like crazy scenario where the woman is like among the most unattractive women to have ever existed, even these women can get short-term sexual access. Now, but when we're talking about men who are involuntarily celibate, we aren't using extreme examples of like, whoa, these men are like in the bottom percentile of ugliness. They're in the bottom percentile. A lot of these men are maybe like anywhere from average to admittedly unattractive, right? So they're in that frame. These men, despite their efforts, they cannot get laid. The difference is, though, when it comes to women, this idea of like a female femcel, female involuntarily celibate, is sort of this implication that they cannot find men who are sexually interested in them. But that's just not the case. The way I think you probably are using it, or at least should use it, is that they can't find men of the correct standard that are more than sexually interested in them. So there's two components there. Meeting the correct standard that the woman has for men, and then more than just sexually interested in them. So a man who's willing to give her a relationship. Because there's a bunch of women who are like, well, I don't want to just have a one night, I want a loving relationship, Involuntarily celibate, celibacy pertains strictly to sex. It doesn't pertain to access to relationships, it doesn't pertain to whether it's even a continuity of a short-term relationship, even if it's purely sexual. celibacy, sex, that's it. Can you have sex one time with one individual? My position on this is that even if you're if you're in the bottom percentile of appearance when it comes to a woman, you can get sex easily. Do you disagree with this?
Well, I agree with your definition of a femcel, that it only has to do with sexual relationships, not anything more than that. And I do think, like you said, if a woman was to go on social media and say, I'm a femcel, I cannot get laid, or if she, I think you talked about this in the past too, if she had a sign on her, like holding up a sign, she went on the street and she said, like, I want to have sex with somebody. Yes, maybe she could find somebody.
She's not an incel then.
Right. Let's say she did that for like 3 years. She was posting on social media trying to look for guys. She was going on the street with a sign trying to look for guys. And eventually she did find someone who would like to sleep with her. Up until that point, she would have been a femcel.
Well, have you or has anybody conducted this experiment where they were actively seeking out a sexual encounter, and for a female for a period of 3 years wasn't able to get it? I've never heard such a thing. Here's an interesting thing. When you brought up the whole online thing, is there were, I guess there still are, but there are femcel communities. There was one on Reddit, for example. I think they either had to private it or shut it down because these women were complaining about not getting sex, and the men on Reddit were sending, hundreds of men were sending these women DMs, direct messages, making themselves sexually available to these women to have sex with. I think even many of them were offering these women conceivably relationships, not just, hey, I just want to fuck you one. No, like, hey, I'd be willing to go on a date with you. I'd be willing to, like, And so as a woman, if you're turning down dozens or hundreds of men who are making themselves sexually available to you, even if you consider you're a femcel, how could you possibly be involuntarily celibate? You would have to be voluntarily celibate.
So everyone has standards on what they would accept to sleep with.
But sure,
you know what I mean.
But
if you can't
I would
get laid,
argue. I'll even bring it there. I believe any female incel, any femcel, I believe that if she makes a good faith effort to try to get sex, she can get sex with a guy who is at least as attractive as she is. If she's a 2, she can get a 2. If she's a 4, she can get a 4. If she's a 6, she can get a 6. But what you have happening is you got women who are 2s and 4s who want the 8 or the 10. And those 8s and 10s aren't hell, they might even be able to get that guy, to be honest. But so this idea that, well, he just doesn't meet my like insanely high standards. Like if a girl was holding out for a billionaire and a guy who looked like Brad Pitt, is she a femcel?
Well, I'm not talking about extremely high standards. I'm just talking about like maybe hygiene, maybe no STDs, something like that. And like you said, with the Reddit messages, a message is one thing. It's another thing if they were to actually go out of their way to meet this woman and go through that whole process.
Sure.
And,
Let me ask you a question though. Who here at this table has received a DM from a guy who was like willing to fly you out somewhere and he was going to pay for it?
Yeah.
How many times?
Probably actually not that much, but recently a lot. Recently a lot,
10,
but
a dozen.
Just 10, yeah.
Felicity.
Yeah, I have.
You've had that? No? Have you had that?
Yes.
Fly out offers. Have you had that?
No.
Have you had that?
No.
Actually? Yeah. Okay. So I mean, there's a lot of differentials between men and women. Like men. A man is if a male is an incel and a girl reaches out to him to fuck, he'll pay for the trip. He'll pay for the trip. Bro, how many of you as women, you've gotten all these offers to be flown out? Have you ever like slid into a dude's DM and you said, I'm gonna pay you to come see me? Have you done that?
Not pay, but I said he could come stay with me.
Right, but you didn't. You weren't pushing it. You weren't at the level where you're like, I'll take care of everything. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna pay for you to come see me. That's how much I want you. Have you done that?
No.
Nope. Have you done that? Nope. Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Nope. Nope. Nope. Okay. So it's like there's just these differentials here. So if a male incel had an offer on the table, he would move mountains to get it. Women, y'all don't move mountains to get dick. You won't move mountains to get dick. Even normal dudes move mountains to get dick. Because you don't think? Oh, bro, these guys, trust me, they'll move mountains to get some pussy. Trust me.
But it's not classy of a woman to move mountains to get dick, and every woman knows that.
But if the standard,
this is what drives me nuts about most people when they claim that gender equality is something we should be pursuing. Like, yes, you should have the same rights, and I think we do in America. First time in history where equal rights have been granted to men and women. Fantastic, I love that. However, it goes to the equality of outcome, the equity argument. People who pursue that, they will say that out of one side of their mouth, but the other side of the mouth, they're totally fine with knowing that their practice is very much men. It's okay if men pay for me to fly out there, pay for me to come to them. They're paying for all the dates, doing all these things for me. I would never do something like that for them, though, because I'm a woman. Why would I ever do that? They would probably never say that, but that's how they act. So it's very much, it's very concerning to see most of America, most of the world generally, take that point of view where they want the equity. They say they want equity, but their life is nothing like that. Because, I mean, everyone realizes inside of them, they know God created them, man and woman, very differently. And you're programmed intimately differently. And that men and women are going to pursue relationships the way God programmed them to. And it takes extreme deprogramming and it's extreme work. There are very fringe people on the outside who have actually worked hard enough to where they've cut that out of them. But most of the time, you can say something, you can say you believe this, but you act in a very specific way because God programmed you that way. He's programmed women to look for a man who can provide, who can protect, who is going to lead the family. That is in you intimately. And for a man, he wants a woman, I guess the practice we see nowadays is sinful, where it's very much, I only look for her, I only look at her looks, am I attracted to her? But men, once you boil it down, they're looking for someone who is going to nurture and take care of the family. I mean, you could turn to Proverbs 31. Those are like the initial instigations of that passage. However, it talks about a woman who is revered by the elders of the city, someone who invests, who does things out in the world, but ultimately submits herself to her husband's leadership. I mean, that's intimately programmed. And you see these things, these practices in the dating relationship, they mirror that. And no matter what people say, you see that so much. And that actions speak louder than words. You can say till you're blue in the face that you disagree with that. However, like most of society's actions say otherwise.
Alina, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Let's say a male incel came up to you. Like maybe it was a male, I don't know if you'd be friends with a male incel, but whatever. Comes up to you and he's like, oh man, I want to get a girl. Like, what would you ask of him? Like, what would you tell him he needs to do to like make that happen? Like bullet point it for me.
I would ask him a lot of questions about his lifestyle currently. What do you do on a daily basis? Do you have a career going? Are you working out? Are you working on yourself?
Sure.
Do you have a faith of some sort? Are you doing self-improvement?
Sure. Yeah. But in terms of taking actionable steps to actually get laid, like you can level up as a guy, you can get your money up, you can get ripped, you can do all these things, but as a guy you have to take some actionable steps to like talk to women, meet women. So like, for example, do you want to bullet point a couple things that the guy would have to do to get the girl? Well,
I think self-improvement would be the step that he would have to take before he is able to go and speak to women.
Okay, let's say he self-improves. Right. Wait, no, hold on. Fuck that. No. Let's say he does, fuck that. He doesn't have to self-improve. He's like, look, I've got a dad bod right now, whatever. I just want to get laid. Men with dad bods, other men with dad bods can get laid. I just want to get laid. What does he actionably have to do to make that happen?
I would say, bro, most women don't like dad bods.
No. Okay, here, Should he hop on some dating apps?
Sure.
If he sees women out in public that he thinks are attractive, should he approach them?
If he's at a low point where he's not working on reaching his full potential to where he can attract a woman that's a high value woman that he wants.
It doesn't matter. No, he just wants to fuck. Who cares high value?
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah,
he's low value. He wants to fuck. What's he got to do? He's got to approach girls, right? He's got to approach women, right?
He has to have the things that women find attractive, which is strength, status, money, things like that.
Okay, but there's like average women who ostensibly should date average men, right?
Yeah.
Okay, not every woman's going to get like a man with status and strength and all that shit, right?
Right, but status doesn't have to be like you're a millionaire, like you're the CEO of something. It can be like you're assertive and you're dominant in a relationship.
Fine. Here, look, I'll go ahead and grant. Fine. He levels up. He needs to level up. Now that he's leveled up, what does he actionably have to do to get the girl?
Get on dating apps. Cold approach girls, maybe.
Approach girls in public. Maybe go to bars and clubs.
Right. Yes.
Okay. And then when he's at the bars and clubs, he has to approach the girl, right?
Well, women don't usually approach that often, so unless he's very attractive. So.
Okay, so he has to approach the girl, right? He's got to learn how to like talk and not be socially awkward, etc. Yeah. Okay, what do you ask of the woman then, the femcel? What does she have to do?
The femcel?
Yeah.
I also ask that she would work on herself because there are things that men find attractive.
What does she have to do now that she's worked on herself? Does she have to do the same things that the man does?
She has to approach men. Yeah, you have to take that step. Yeah.
She has to
if men are not approaching her, then she has to approach men.
Okay. So I guess here's my confusion here is as a woman, if you approach a man and you make yourself apparently sexually available to him, maybe it's not the first guy, maybe it's not the second, maybe it's not the third, maybe it's the 10th, maybe it's the 20th, maybe it's the 30th, maybe it takes you a couple days, maybe it takes you a couple weeks. You're gonna land on a dude who's gonna fuck you.
Right, but most women don't want to have that nature of interaction with
them. Then they're not femcells.
Yeah, well,
then they're not femcells.
Well, the thing is it's voluntary. Like if you're voluntarily celibate, but it's involuntarily. So like I'm gonna drop everything I'm actually looking for to try to see if I can get with somebody. So I mean, ultimately, I think this is built upon, and there is gender inequality in this, which is, I think, is good. Like, I think God programmed men and women very differently. They have different roles that they're supposed to play, and it's programmed into them before, like, as they were born, because you're a man or a woman. And for men, like, because women naturally want that provider protector, there is that you have to go into those areas where you have to be working out because you need to protect people. You have to be making money because you need to be providing for people. However, for women, it's harder to see whether they can be nurturing to a family. So, and then generally guys, they just look at a woman like, oh my gosh, she's so attractive, I want to be with her.